Start.
Okay, see that we have already some participants, which is fantastic. Thank you very much for showing up and showing up on time, most importantly. We had a fantastic amount of signups for this wonderful webinar. So again, I would like to thank you for being so punctual, but we would like to wait just 3 minutes until more people can join. As I said, we had a really good turnout for this webinar. We would like to make sure that most of us are here when we start. So let's give 3 minutes to everybody else to finish that last iced coffee. It is extremely hot in Berlin today, so I'm guessing a lot of people are finishing that iced Americano and coming back to their desk or to their home office. However, it is customary for us when we start these Sharpist webinars to try to get to know the audience as much as we can while we wait. And we usually do this by asking people to write in the chat where they're from and why are they joining today. However, since we're going to be talking about multicultural environment and multicultural way of being, we have changed that question a little bit for this edition of Sharpist webinars. So I'm going to put this question in the chat, and I would like to know, or actually 3 questions. I would like to know, where are you from, where you are based, and where you are going? Excuse me. So where are you from, where are you based, and where you're going? I could start, I guess, to give some inspiration. I am originally from Venezuela. I am currently based in Berlin. Currently, you can take that with a grain of salt. I've been based here for 11 years now, since 2011. And where am I going? Nowhere for the time being. Don't have plans to move from Berlin, but I will be going to Mallorca for a little holiday in October. So I look forward to that. How about you, Florian?
Yeah, hi. So I can only say good morning. Here it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm originally from Vienna. I lived a long time in Vienna. I studied there, I worked there, and I'm now based for 20 years in Silicon Valley. And
that is a long journey.
Where do I plan to go? Well, I plan to go this fall to Europe.
Very nice.
Maybe I come to Berlin. Yeah, maybe I come to Berlin, but
that would be nice. We could meet in person.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and then we can do an event in person.
That would be fantastic. All right. Again, everybody, just as a reminder, we're waiting 1 more minute until more people have joined the webinar, seeing as so many signups showed up in our landing page. So what we're doing right now is trying to get to know each other a little bit better, answering the question that is in the chat. Where are you from? Where are you based? And where are you going? I see that Alec Spradling has a raised hand. I see it says that the chat is disabled. I've seen that the chat is disabled. Maybe Kim can help us with that. I see chat is now working. Perfect. Thank you so much for letting us know, Dita and Alec. But perfect, it's working now. Great. Sorry, Alastair is unable to hear anything. Please, everybody else who is in the session, write in the chat if you can hear as well. Maybe it's a technical difficulty from Alastair only. Shadna's from Iran, based in Berlin, and going to USA. Amazing, amazing. Traveling the world from east to west. Perfect. Matthias can hear us, Dita can hear us, and Piotr also. Okay, that's great. So we hope that we can solve this issue, Alastair. It's very hard for me to fix it from here, but now that, oh, let's hear from Alec too. Currently in Buenos Aires, live usually in the USA and travel the world frequently. That is a fantastic life.
It's amazing. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Just looking at the names, yeah, I mean, we really have an international community here. This is great.
That's amazing. That's great. Speaking about international communities, I think this is a wonderful time to officially start this Sharpist webinar. Welcome everybody. Thank you for being on time or not so on time. My name is Juan Salazar. I lead the content team here at Sharpist, and I am going to be your host for today's session. I say host because we have a guest speaker, a very special guest speaker with us today, who you might have seen already in your screen. His name is Florian Brody. Florian is an executive coach, and he has been also a Sharpist coach for a very long time. I think almost since the moment that we started offering our digital coaching services. And Florian is here today because of his experience. He has been or has over 25 years of experience working as an executive, both in Silicon Valley and in Europe. As you can see, working with huge, amazing companies like Novartis, Kodak, Amazon, Apple, and Philips. And after his executive career, now Florian has been a ICF and EMCC certified executive coach, working with clients in English and in German for over 7 years now. So welcome, Florian. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be able to share with the big community the importance of multicultural communication. And thank you for giving everybody a few minutes, because depending on the culture, starting at on the clock is a very different concept. Time, we're gonna get there in a minute.
We're gonna get there in a minute. Exactly. So what are we going to talk about today? As I said, leadership in multicultural environments, but we're going to tackle this topic from 3 different angles. First, we're going to talk about what is multicultural leadership in the first place, what makes an environment multicultural. Then we're going to talk about the challenges that we usually face as leaders in multicultural environments. And finally, we're going to give you 3 essential skills for multicultural leadership success that you can work on and develop with the help of a coach. After we've gone through that, we're going to have a dedicated time for an audience Q&A, which is usually my favorite part of these webinars. That's going to be 10 minutes at the end. However, I would like to urge you to please use the chat as much as you can. Whenever you want to share some input, you want to share a thought, you want to share a question, go ahead and use the chat. Either myself or someone else from the team who is supporting us today is going to be continuously monitoring the chat, and then we're going to try to take up relevant questions as they come. However, we do understand that some questions require a little bit more of detail, a little bit more of discussion. So those we're going to try to keep for the end so we can do them some justice. So without further ado, I would say let's start right at the beginning. So Florian, please explain what multicultural leadership is.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited. Yes, I've been working with Sharpist for over 3 years. And as I mentioned, I'm Austrian living in Silicon Valley, so I experience very different cultures. And I always say, when you go to Japan or when you go to Asia, then especially when you come from Europe, you think, oh, everything is different. And then you think, oh, I'm going to the US. I learned English in school. And it can't be that different. Everybody eats hamburgers. It is very different. Because when you look at this world, which is, as we know by now, not in the center of the universe with the sun rotating around the earth, we had to give that up. We still have over 7,000 languages and 6,000 cultures. And that's just an estimate. And those slightly short of 8 billion people have very, very different concepts about space, about time, about interaction, about truth, and about the reality, how the world shows up. So when we are leaders, whether we lead a group of 20,000 people, of 2 people, or just ourselves, it is so important to always consider that the other person may have a different perception of what you say. So it's not only what you say and what you do, but it's how it's perceived and how it arrives. And as leaders, it's our responsibility to support people, and we do it for them and not for us. So there is a lot of research being done by people who have spent much more time on multicultural leadership and multicultural communication, like Richard Lewis, who spent his whole life on this. And he came up with this very interesting model of differentiating between linear active, multi-active, and reactive cultures. Linear active, like Germany, Switzerland, where very clearly one thing comes after the other. The truth is the truth. What I'm saying, this is what we mean. In the US, as they say, we mean what we say and we say what we mean, all the way to Central and South America, where concepts are very different, where humans are much more important than the concept. And on the other end, Japan, China, and Vietnam, who wait. And we may be puzzled because we talk to them in a meeting and they don't say anything. And you think, are they bored? Are they not interested? Versus they may think, why are they talking all the time? The same, I mean, even when you build a website today, the same stuff that in Germany may feel a little bit pushy. Come on, I mean, you can be a little bit more subdued. In America may feel completely lame. And I work with that all the time. Yeah, it's very interesting. So let's look a little bit at our differences. So the linear active person, the German, talks about half the time. The multi-active person, maybe they're all the time, talking all the time, and you say, when can I interrupt them? And the reactive person just listens. And then you say, why didn't you say anything in the meeting? I invited you to comment. Oh, I didn't want to interrupt anybody. So how do you act in the discussion? Do you argue with logic, or do you argue emotionally? Or don't you say anything? What's important, the feelings or the facts? What counts? Or is it all about finding a unified feeling about being together, which is more important? How important is it, in one culture, if you don't have lunch with them and dinner with them and spend the whole weekend with them, you will never get to a deal. Versus in the other culture, it's considered inappropriate because you want to be very clear and it's just business. What's important, what you write or what you say? So there are so many differences, and I cannot go into detail here, but I think these are very important points that you should consider. So, and then, of course, as we just mentioned at the beginning, there's time. When there's this story, I imagine, a Swedish guy is in Portugal and goes playing tennis with somebody and with his new business partner. And he's, of course, on time at 11 o'clock. The business partner shows up half an hour late with somebody else with whom he's still finishing a conversation, starting to practice a little bit with playing tennis to warm up, continues to talk. And while they're finally there, and somebody else shows up and they have another conversation, and the Swedish guy says, I'm sorry, we only booked until 11 o'clock. Says, don't worry, I already called them. We can go overtime, And the Swedish guy can't do that because he has his next meeting. And he says, this is so rude. And the Portuguese guy or the South American guy may think, where's the problem? We're playing tennis. Come on, relax. And this is why it's so important to acknowledge this and to realize this. Now, nobody can jump over their cultural limits, but you can recognize it. So what's the essence? As I just mentioned, you cannot change your culture. You can learn, but ultimately, it's based on emotional intelligence. You have to know your own culture. You have to embody it. You have to recognize the differences. And for this, it's good to read some books and get informed. But ultimately, you have to grow into it. And this is where coaching comes in. Now, in addition, you may have a team, and not everybody on the team may have this multicultural competency. So you also, as a leader, have to serve as the buffer, as the person in between. When you have a review with the team member, and you tell them, team member, I really like what you're doing, this and this and this, and actually by the end, there's one point I wanted to point out. This is something you could work on. What arrives is the boss is happy, and this little thing, forget it. Because the person is French versus in France, he gets hammered. This and this and this and this and this is wrong. And actually, before you leave the room, I really like the way you wrote this paper.
It's all about the perception.
It's all
about knowing your audience. And
exactly.
I really like that you used the Lewis model, Florian, to bring us into the subject, because with it we see that different cultural groups display different behaviors across a variety of dimensions, as you mentioned. And it's exactly these differences that shape the lens through which different people perceive the world, so different people perceive their actions and the actions of others too. For example, as you mentioned, the degree to which someone speaks with emotion or uses expressive body language or even shows up to an appointment in time is really just partly or to a large degree informed by their heritage and where they come from and their cultural identity. And naturally, these differences can bring about conflict, clashes, if you will. And you mentioned here on the slide that it is up to the multicultural leader or a multiculturally versed leader to use their emotional intelligence to address cultural challenges. And this is the key because this is also something that we want to talk about today. So let's look at what the most common challenges are that leaders face in these environments and how you can help or how we can help overcome these challenges. So there are plenty, so many, but we're going to focus on three today, three main challenges in multicultural environments. You will notice that even though they're distinct and we treat them separately, they're not isolated. They influence each other. They also build on each other. So the first one that we're going to talk about is communication. The second one is working styles. And the third one is negotiation. So Florian, why is communication such a huge challenge in a multicultural environment?
I think the major point is that we all believe if we say something, then it also arrives exactly as we say it. As the Americans say, I said it before, yeah? We say what we mean and we mean what we say. Only the person on the other end of the communication is not a technical device where you send information over a line. This is the problem. Yeah, we always use this model from Shannon and Weaver. Yeah, there is a sender and a receiver, and you send messages back and forth. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, that's why the model by the Chilean researcher Francesco Varela, yeah, and Umberto Maturana is so important because they say we communicate within a consensual space, and if we don't have the consensual space, it's very, very hard. So if you have a company that headquarters in Germany with another company in the US, it's up to the leaders to create this common space, to understand each other. So, and of course, the most extreme are all these terms that we use. And when you ever work with Americans and you're not from there, then you're completely flabbergasted. And what are they talking about? And because most of the references are based on baseball, which you, if you don't grow up there, you cannot get, and it's hopeless. And
I'm laughing or smiling because I've literally been through this. Like, fortunately, growing up in Venezuela, baseball is our national sport.
But then you know, yeah.
So then I know, but with other things, it's been extremely hilarious. I really like this example that you brought to illustrate this point.
Yeah, I mean, the manager says to the person who works for him, yeah, this project, I'm amazing, you're killing it, yeah. So the guy is ready to pack up his stuff, yeah, and leave because what they mean, yeah, it's absolutely amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the person hears, okay, I killed the project, I gotta get fired now.
I also, I'm sorry that I keep laughing. It's just literally something that has happened to me before. I also really liked the next example that you brought because I think it's a little bit more subdued. It's something that that can happen without you really realizing what has happened.
You present something, yeah, and the person on the other side of the table, the board meeting, and you present the idea, and that person says, it's very interesting, yeah, which means forget it, huh? Or I really like it. And you don't know. And I mean, Juan and I have been working on this presentation, and we only have altogether 1 hour of your time, yeah. So we cut a lot of examples, yeah. But if you think about your own experience, you will find lots.
Definitely. And this is also like a challenge that transcends just language barriers or idiomatic sort of misunderstandings, and that's also transcends cultures. That's also something that you and I were discussing when we were preparing this webinar, that cultural differences and communication breakdowns do not only happen in interactions between different nationalities, which is kind of the marker for culture that we're using while presenting this topic. What happens when different departments communicate? You also had two fantastic examples illustrate this point.
These examples actually come from actual coaching conversations that I had with learners over the last months. So all of those are real examples. Yeah. So this example, yeah, where there's a town hall meeting in a big company, and top management, yeah, reports how well the company is doing, yeah, and talks about EBITDA, versus the people on the shop floor are worried, is there enough money to pay the salaries next week? They have no idea what EBITDA is. First, they don't understand the abbreviation. Yeah? Secondly, they even if they understand the abbreviation, they don't know what to do with it. On the other end, yeah, they found out, yeah, that the work satisfaction is low because they have this one tool, which is, I don't know, a $200 piece of equipment, maybe $300. Yeah? They need to mount the devices, and they only have one for 5 people. And finance says, why do we have to buy so many? They use them once a week. They can give it to each other. And only until the manager of the shop floor took the finance guy down to the shop floor and showed him, and they spent a minimal amount of money. I don't know, they spent like $2,000, which is a multi-billion company, irrelevant, and bought one of each for each of their employees. They loved it. It was a very, very small investment. Yeah, they feel it's mine now. I can work.
Yeah. So I guess what we can say now is that the implications of breakdowns in communication and so language barriers go beyond just a simple misunderstanding. Like I don't get what you mean.
It goes in the hierarchy. It goes even when, as we know, yeah. When you ask engineers, they will tell you that marketing people, yeah, it's all fluff. They all lie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Marketing people will tell you that the engineers, they don't get it. They don't understand what's important. Yeah. And on one side, that's a problem. On the other side, that's a benefit. That's why you don't send engineers to do marketing and vice versa. So the limitations are also benefits.
Of course, you have to understand the differences and the limitations of what you can do.
And as a leader, you have to understand. Yeah, sorry.
Exactly. No, go ahead. That's exactly the point. As a leader, you have to understand that in order to be able to cater to different cultures. As we said, regardless of whether it's a national culture or a culture related to a job role or to what you're specialized in. Coming back to this point where the implications of a breakdown in communication goes beyond just simple misunderstanding. I think the example that you gave with this tool really points the example of the tool, which is the manager failed to understand that this tool would have such a huge impact on the team's productivity. This to me points out how different our visions of the world and of our work can be. Specifically, how we view efficiency, what we deem to be good service or outstanding service. There are so many examples. So at this point, I would like us to go into the next challenge. And I would like us to go into more detail on how do cultural differences affect the way that we work and the way that we collaborate within an organization. And that is challenge number 2, working styles.
It's very different. I just thought about this thing that happened to me. I worked in a startup, early stage, Silicon Valley, and everything went really slow. And I managed to identify a senior engineer who actually really got it, who understood. Mm-hmm. And I said something to him about how to improve and accelerate the whole stuff and really get what we need. And 5 minutes later, there was a big complaint. Brody spoke to me directly again. Because I can't talk to him. I have to talk to his boss.
You have to respect the chain of command or the chain of communication.
Yeah. I couldn't care less in a startup. Yeah.
Of course.
So, but let's look at the way we work in the world. What's important to us? Yeah. One of the amazing things that's why Americans love German cars, about the precision. And you would think it can't be that much of a problem for a car company to buy a few models from the competition, take it apart, figure out what's being done. Doesn't work. American cars are different from European cars. And while in Germany we produce It has to be 100% perfect before we leave it out. Yeah. Versus the American partner says, please, guys, we don't have that time. By the time you finish the product 100%, yeah, our clients have all bought from the competition. Let's give them an 80% product, and then we can service it. And the German says, why do we have to invest in the service department? Our product is perfect. And the Americans say, you don't get it. We make money from service. But that's rude, that's impolite. How can you give someone something bad and then make money from servicing?
It's a customer touch point.
You go to the customer, voila, you go to the customer touch point. You say, of course I want to do service, because while I'm there, I convince them to buy the next model or an additional one. Yeah,
it's such a different thing. And just looking at these two models, the 80% now versus 100% perfect. I don't think that I can speak for everyone in the audience, but I think the way that most of us would try to navigate this conflict would be through trying to reach consensus. Regardless whether it's the 80% or the 100%, regardless which one is more appropriate, going for either model, either working model, requires agreements, requires commitments, and how you reach agreements, how you reach commitments is through negotiation, through deal making. And that's I really wanted to get into this topic because, again, when we were preparing for this webinar, we found this challenge particularly interesting. And we found it interesting because we have to consider that there are vast differences in the ways that different cultures go through the process of deal making. So please, Florian, walk us through this.
Yeah, let's look at deal making. Yeah.
How do cultural differences affect the way
you go into a meeting? Yeah, you have a room full of managers from the other department, or the company from the other part of the world, from your own company, or from a client. Yeah? And you have to negotiate an agreement, how to proceed, forecast, or you want to buy or sell something. And you sit in the room with them, and how are you going to do it? And I brought some examples. Where are we here? Yes. So, and the communication patterns are so different. These are examples from one of the standard books on multicultural communication by Richard Lewis, who found in Germany, you start absolutely on time for your meeting. Everybody's there, we start. What has been done, what's going to be done next, you take everything together, you go over all details, you have an honest proposal that is acceptable to the client. Maybe there's some counter arguments, but ultimately, what we say is exactly what's going to happen. We have, there are no jokes. Nobody makes fun of anything. It's exactly what is being said, what's being laid on the table. That's what's going to happen. Versus in the UK, there is traditionally a lot of coded speech. What we had earlier, this is very interesting. There are jokes, there are puns. Even the Americans don't understand that language is something to be played with. And you want to make sure that nobody is upset. Everybody is totally polite. You would not get anywhere without if you upset anybody.
Don't rock the boat.
This is just some examples. Versus in America, the details, yes, they're important, but ultimately the real question is, do we have a deal? If you go to a car dealer in California, the question you will get is, what do I need to do today to make you buy this car today? And then you say, no, the price. Okay, you know what? I know it's 17,000. I give it to you for 14. Are you going to buy it for 14? Okay, we have a deal. Yeah. Then he goes to his manager, comes back very sad. I'm so sorry. My manager will not approve it, but you can have it for 69. And in Germany, you would walk away. I had, coming from Europe, I bought my first car here in California. The guy did, he took the keys and put it in the pocket of my on my shirt said, there, it's yours. You would be so offended in Germany that you would walk away. So what is the guy doing?
And that it's really just so different everywhere that you go. And what you've described, like these different communication patterns in the UK and in Germany and the USA, will surely leave some of us here in the audience wondering, how on earth am I supposed to be able to navigate all of this? You know, some want the fastest way to the deal, regardless of any convention. Some want to follow the German style fact-based agenda to reach some sort of subjective truth. And like the example in the UK, you know, you don't want to rock the boat. You want to maintain stability in order to be able to reach a decision in the next meeting. But
so what to do?
I like exactly what to do. As you said, you know, as most negotiation conversations end in the US, what is our next step? So what are leaders to do? What can we do to adapt to such a diverse and complex world? And you already made mention of this at the beginning of the webinar. So I think we can already have the spoiler out. Work with a coach.
The coach, work with a coach. So there are very, very good books, and I highly recommend to read them. Many of those books are, although they're written by German authors, by British authors, there's a very good book by an American author who lives in Paris. And read those. It's interesting, it's inspiring. They're all written, most of them are written with examples, which is a very American style of doing self-help and nonfiction books, which can be royally annoying for if you come from Europe. Can you please get to the topic? That's good. Then there's training. You may bring in a trainer who takes your team into a room and they spend the whole day with little post-it notes on whiteboards and impersonating and having role-playing games, and that's good. But ultimately, in order to become a multicultural leader, to really be a multicultural leader, you need a coach. Because the coach allows you to, please.
Sort of really quickly, Dita asked in the chat if you can share the book names, the names of the books with us. Maybe not right now, but we could do it later.
Absolutely, of course, yes.
Super.
Yeah. And I think you meant, I don't know whether you mentioned it already, upon anybody who's interested in going deeper into this topic. You said Sharpist will offer a wide range of different ways to actually explore that. And I'm available.
Yes, we can unite the references, unite the inspiration, and send them out after the webinar. So sorry, I interrupted you when you were talking about
No, this is important. This is very important. This is very, very important, because only when you work with somebody, be it one-on-one or be it with a team, to really identify. There's one manager who actually gave me two stories, about this one employee who he has, whom he really explained that he needs to work for the interest of his team and not the other team. The guy enjoys helping the other team. Says, that's not your business. Don't waste your business. The guy didn't get it. Why? Because the manager was American and the employee was French. And the American manager did not provide the underlying substructure. And to realize that, it doesn't mean that when you're American, you suddenly become French. But once you realize what you're doing, there's an opportunity to move from one way of being to a more open way of being. And this transformational process is a coaching process. So basically, you need all three. So thank you for asking for the books. I will provide a list of books that you can look at. There are lots of workshops, but I really recommend if you are a multicultural leader or you want to be more of a multicultural leader, to get into coaching. And I know even if you have not yet worked with Sharpist, I think you guys have a lot. There's a lot of opportunities. And I worked in the past with leaders who wanted to try it. There's always an opportunity. So talk to Juan. I'm sure he can help.
Okay. So I think, you really summarized why coaching is important, allowing you to get what it is that you need to work on, to act it and to live it. I think you also mentioned that when we were preparing. And I thought that was so beautiful, because it also, the experiences that you make with coaching also give more potency or more effectiveness to the books that you read and to the trainings that you participate, because it comes all together. It's all related to you and how you can improve and live the behaviors required to be successful in a multicultural environment. So let's talk about essential skills, because we've spoken about the multicultural business world, we've talked about challenges, but the purpose of the webinar is not just to talk about symptoms and causes. We're not doctors here. What we want to do is to leave you with actionable steps that you can take towards elevating your leadership and to successfully tackle the challenges that a multicultural environment can present for you. So during our prep session, Florian and I discovered many key competencies and behaviors, but we decided to narrow it down to 3. So the 3 essential skills that we're going to focus on, and these are essential skills that you can work on with a coach, are self-awareness, empathy, and inclusion. So the first skill that we have is self-awareness. Sorry. We have a beautiful quote here that you added, Florian, and I think most of people in the audience are going to be familiar with it. Knowing yourself is the beginning of wisdom, which means, true wisdom is obviously knowing what you know, but also knowing what you don't know and working on it with your coach. Do you agree with that, Florian? How does one go about fostering self-awareness?
Well, actually, yeah, it's what you know, what you don't know, and to realize, there are things you don't even know that you don't know. Because there may be something that says, okay, well, no, I don't really speak Greek. I understand that. But do I know that I don't even know that I don't know how to interact with people in Greece when I do business. And there's a big difference. So to get to know yourself, and you find this in every culture. So this is the traditional classic Greek quote. But even in Eastern cultures, you will find that it's necessary to study yourself, because only then you can get over yourself. So to get to know yourself, and then you have to know your own culture, because if you are not aware of where you come from, how can you identify where you go? And then to recognize others may be different. And there are these 6,000 cultures. But if you look around in whatever room you sit at the moment, you'll probably find 3 more cultures. And one of the things that really help is developing a mindfulness practice. And that's why we work in coaching a lot also with meditation, with awareness practices, that you really realize that the world around you live in, you work in, it's not, oh, I think it's that way, but to question it.
Exactly. So that's the essence, that's the importance of developing self-awareness, becoming mindful of and embracing your own culture, your own perspectives. The second skill that we wanted to talk about today, Florian, is empathy. And empathy allows leaders to strengthen their relationships. And they can do so because they develop an ability to relate to the experiences of others. I also really like this quote that you also brought, that you put right here on the slide by Dorothea Obermeyer. Think with the head of the other and feel with their heart. So my question to you is, Florian, in an uncertain situation where there are not only overt differences that you can know that you don't know, but also more covert ones, the ones that hide beneath the surface of an interaction or a conversation, how can one work on actively developing empathy? How does one put thinking and feeling like the other into action?
That's exactly the point. You cannot decide, okay, this is interesting, I'm going to do it now. This is something that you have to accept doesn't work with your brain. It works with your heart and it works with your body. And because the cultures and the styles are everywhere, they're not intellectual concepts. So acknowledge the differences and realize other people may see things differently. And there's again the mindful leadership practice, which includes to realize that as a leader, you serve others. If you're a team leader, you're there for them. If you believe you're a leader because you have a C or a V on your business card, you will have a very hard time. But if you understand yourself as a leader who will make sure that the team has everything they need, and to realize, and then most important, acknowledge that you may not know. And if you say to somebody, I'm sorry, maybe this looks completely different for you. And then, of course, yeah, as we had earlier, you can read a book. Yeah, you can, if you travel to India, you may realize being on time would be considered rude. So you can look up things. Yeah? But in order to be able to even action on these things, you have to be open to them.
To be in that situation.
Yeah, because if you know that if somebody comes from a different country and when you invite them for 7 and they call you at 8:30 and says, I'm going to leave my home soon. Yeah? You'll think, this is absolutely rude. You'll think, okay, it's their way of doing it. Yeah, that allows for a lot of flexibility. And you can say, I'm sorry, I don't know. Because admitting you don't know, keeping your beginner's mind, not being an expert of everything, can be the most powerful way of doing it.
And I think that's a wonderful way of putting it, because it really helps us gain an understanding or gain an appreciation for understanding differences as being constructive, as opposed to believing that we're all the same, which is reductive and not something that we can work on. And especially not something that we can work on if we want to affect change on an organizational level, which is what leaders do, and which is the third skill that we want to talk about, which is inclusion.
Which means including. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's not like me versus them. It's understanding that it goes beyond you.
Beyond you.
And in doubt, if you are embarrassed to admit that you got something wrong, if you would say, I don't understand, why didn't he get it? Yeah, and then maybe you ask him, where you come from, what you do, and then you can look it up. Yeah? And you say, I'm sorry, this didn't work. Let's try this differently. In the same way, you practice everything else. And this allows you to grow, and this allows your team to grow. Yeah? And yes, a training in diversity, equity, and inclusion is absolutely essential. In America, it's required. In every other country, I would recommend it as well. Because people not only have different cultures because they come from different countries, but their individual way of being, their sexuality, the way they perceive themselves, may be very important to them. And this can be extremely tricky. And just admitting that you don't know is a major step forward. I mean, it's the banalities, you say, hey, Juan, nice haircut, which is required in some countries because it would be rude, that I don't recognize how beautiful you are. In other words, come on, please, no personal remarks, In England, they would say no personal remarks, I mean, it goes with the banality, If you sneeze, you say bless you or zum Wohlsein or you say nothing. You say nothing.
And all of these questions and all of these ways of dealing with things have to be ingrained into the fabric of the whole organization. As we said, in the previous slide, it really goes beyond just you as a leader. Inclusion is the backbone of a system, of an organizational culture, and it's a system and a culture that has to foster awareness, belonging, as you said, community, and has to provide leaders and teams with the tools that they need in order to address challenges and not just brush them under the carpet or see them as isolated incidents or as moments of, you just don't have the, and this is a hard process. I was reading a study where 71% of organizations that participated in the study said that they wanted to develop an inclusive culture, but only 12% of them actually managed to do so, because leaders tend to underestimate the extent of change that is needed in order to cultivate a truly multicultural environment.
It
has to be organizational, systemic.
We have a multicultural organization the way I like it. And that doesn't work. And if something goes wrong, address it appropriately. Exactly. And realize that there will be a problem. That's one of the things I learned when I worked with Ciba-Geigy Novartis. I worked with their chief marketing officer, and they said, we have a room set up for a press conference. Refrigerator, water cooled, microphones charged, everything ready to go. Because it's not a question if we have a chemical disaster, we are a chemical company, but when. And when something exploded and 2 people died. They had a press conference. Everyone says, yeah, we understand. I mean, unfortunately, this is part of the thing. Everything was fine. The competition didn't say anything for days until it came out. It was a major mess. So when there is something wrong, address it.
Yeah. So Florian, we have to be mindful of the time.
I know. I'm
really.
sorry. Let's cut it because
sorry.
I know you want. No, we want to hear the others.
Exactly. So we wanted to open the floor for questions. We're doing that a little bit late or over time because we also had to start a little bit late because of a technical difficulty. But I guess, or I hope that's all right. If anybody who's in the call would like to stay for 5 more minutes, then I invite you to do so because we would like to take some questions. As I said, the most important part of this session. So let's skip the recap and go to Q&A. So let's look through the chat and try to find some questions. We had Dita's questions about books. That has been answered. We have a lot of people telling us where they're from and the different cultures that they can count in their team. Also in the company, someone says here that they have over 30 nationalities in the company around the world. It's fantastic. Someone has 5 different nationalities only in their team, Christina. But yes, I don't see any more questions popping up. So what we could, I guess, pose as a question for everybody who's still there is, what are the challenges that you face in your multicultural environment, in your team, in your company, even if in your building, wherever? Do you face challenges that are related to this? Because we might be able to give you some insight. So we have a question right here. I'm going to read it out to you, Florian. What practices do you recommend to implement in a multicultural team in order to ensure smooth communication?
Bring in all 3 levels: information, training, and coaching. You may not be able to provide individual coaching for everybody, but you can provide individual coaching for team leaders, and you can provide team coaching for the group. Just being aware and talking to each other. And that a coach working with teams can do this in a very informal way, that people get to know each other. Says, oh my God, I never realized. I always thought you are person so-and-so 3 offices over. Just if you do nothing else but inviting your team to get to know each other as humans is amazing. Like somebody wrote, oh, I can confirm, I'm from India myself, and just talk to this person. And things can be different. I think this is the most important message to take away.
Things can be different. We have here some people writing in the chat, actual suggestions for Dita's question. Shahrukh, I hope that I pronounced that correctly, says conflict management. Sabine says coach, conflict solution practitioner. We actually have a question for Shahrukh. How new entrants can persuade to change something? I mean, process optimization. So let me know if I understood it correctly, Shahrukh. So how can a new entrant to the team, a new member of the team, persuade the existing structure to make a change, to optimize a process? This is the example.
Well, let's take the word persuade. Do you want to work with persuade, or do you want to create the awareness?
Mm-hmm.
You're new to the team and you think, okay, I immediately realize the team doesn't work the way I think it should do. And also in the spirit of conflict resolution, because that's important. Sometimes it's not enough. You have a real issue, and then you bring somebody in for conflict resolution. And there are experts.
Impulse that someone is putting in the chat. You mentioned that you can either persuade or just raise awareness or raise the point that something needs to change. And Sway asks if either approach depends on the cultures of other team members. I think it's quite a good point.
Of course. This is a multidimensional issue, because humans are not complicated. Humans are complex. So there is no way of having a post hoc ergo propter hoc. So it's not like you go from a problem to a solution. It's much more complicated. There's so many moving parts. So bringing in somebody from conflict resolution who, if nothing else, can reduce the stress. Because the moment you reduce the tension, people open up and people are willing to talk.
I like this approach. There's the sort of mediated approach.
It's absolutely necessary. Sometimes the best thing to do is bring somebody in.
Yeah,
and being aware.
Also, being aware of who you're dealing with and how you also deal with these situations. Also looking inward, perhaps, and knowing how you're raising these issues.
And this we go back to what we talked earlier for the manager. If the manager, if they think they know best, they say, why do I have to bring in somebody else?
I have a final question here, Florian, that it's also just also for the audience. We're going to wrap up after we finish Alastair's question. Do you agree that the larger the team or organization, the harder it is to be inclusive for everyone? An example being organizing team events where some team members may not drink due to religion, so a pub would not be a suitable option, or team members who are vegan or vegetarian, so going to certain places would not be suitable. So do you agree that the larger the team or organization, the harder it is to be inclusive for everyone?
Well, we're not going to go into system theory here, but of course, the larger a system, the more moving parts you have. Now, if you have a team meeting, I don't know, in Berlin, and somebody chooses a place, all they have is currywurst and beer, and there may be team members who only eat vegetarian, and the person said, sorry, we have beer. No, we don't even have water. That would be bad. But at the same time, if you decide to work and live in Berlin, and you know that the manager or the people who organize the meeting, accommodate for you. You can't expect that they go to a non-alcoholic vegan restaurant, because everybody else may be disappointed. So everybody has to open up a little bit. But of course, you want to accommodate people. And if you go to a place in Brunei, they don't serve alcohol. And they said, what's that? How can I have an evening party without alcohol? You also have to accommodate. And it's just being a little bit more flexible helps in this multicultural VUCA world.
Right. Thank you very much, Florian. We still have one question in the chat. I think we can still keep going if people want to stay in or stay on and participate. This is the last question from Jörg. Jörg asks, how do you deal with compliance, hard rules in multicultural organizations and environments?
Again, creating awareness, in different cultures, in different countries, independent from the culture, there are certain rules. Whether it's how do you hire and fire people, how do you organize the bathrooms, and how things are being done, and developing this empathy or flexibility is not only something that goes back to the point we had just had before. If you are strictly vegetarian, vegan, no alcohol, if you work in Berlin, you have to accept, this is what people do. That doesn't mean that you have to start getting drunk every evening, but you understand that other people may do it. And we all know that, I mean, in California, you cannot do any event without asking about food preferences. And everybody has different ones, and you accommodate for them. But you don't say, well, all we can serve is salad leaves because this is just common denominator. That would be the wrong way as well. And you invite your team members, and there may be somebody who is totally up in their arms. Oh my God, how can we serve meat? And as a leader, go towards conflict resolution and invite people. Juan, for the books, should we send that by email afterwards?
Yes,
or what's the best
let's do that. Let's do that as the follow-up to the presentation or to the webinar. So I think I would still like to answer. There was one final question, but I think 10 minutes over time is already way past what we account for. But really a huge thanks to everybody who came and who participated, who shared their input, shared their questions. I like also this point that Sabine is bringing. Thanks especially for keeping awareness a central aspect after self-awareness, which is fantastic, and that is true. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us, for participating. Also, especially thanks to you, Florian, for sharing your insights, for sharing all of your experience, and bringing this wonderful conversation together. I didn't get to mention Sharpist right now, but we're gonna just paste a link in the chat before you leave. So you can click on it and schedule a call with someone from our team. If you're interested in leadership development, in perhaps getting digital coaching, one-on-one digital coaching for your organization, if you're looking to develop first-time leaders, if you're looking to affect organizational change through people development, all of these different needs and use cases are covered by our product. So I urge you also to use the chat, click on the link that is there, schedule a call with our team. As you can tell, pitching is not my strong suit, but it is theirs. So they'll be able to help you and find a solution that works best for you.
This is so great, Juan. Thank you so much for offering so many opportunities for people to find out what Sharpist can do. I mean, I'm a big fan of Sharpist, but
of course,
all I think is if you leave this meeting and says, well, this is nice, thank you, but that's not a problem that I have, and I don't need that, then ask yourself, why is that so? Why do you think that's not a problem? And maybe, I always believe the people who think they don't need coaching are the ones that need it most.
Exactly. That's it. So
thank
again,
you. Thank you for
so
the organization.
Florian.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. This is great.
Thank you, everybody. And have a wonderful end to your day. Hope to see you soon for the next Sharpist webinar.
Great.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.